We got a big show for you tonight. Shelley Winter Show Live, local, topical, and relevant. But I got to start here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your seats. Some of you are going to get very upset with me after this. The phone number, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK, all right? Here's the headline. Judge rules Georgia Republican Party's vice chairman voted illegally. Subhead, Brian Pritchard voted 9 times while serving probation for felony forgery charges. Let me start this off by saying that if Brian Pritchard, first vice chair of the Georgia GOP, does not turn in his resignation by the time I get off the air tonight at 10 p.m., there is something incredibly wrong with our GOP and the Georgia GOP. It is not Josh McCoon's responsibility to ask for his resignation. It is not the people's responsibility to demand his resignation. He, as a man, and I mean M capital, A capital, N capital, man, needs to resign by 10 p.m. By the time I get off this air, it should be being reported on the 95.5 WSB News that Brian Pritchard has resigned, from being first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. Let me tell you why. A judge ruled Wednesday that the Georgia Republican Party's first vice chairman, Brian Pritchard, violated. A judge ruled that this guy violated state election laws. Now, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the Georgia Republican Party in the state of Georgia, right? Our GOP, the Georgia GOP, of which I know hundreds of members, real members, activists, from Chairman Josh McCoon, who's doing as good a job as he possibly can, given the crazy nutbags that are making it hard for him. And yes, I did say nutbags, because all of you are nutbags who are giving him a hard time. That this guy voted 9 times while serving probation for a felony check forgery sentence. Not crossing the middle, crossing against the red, not a DUI, not any number of misdemeanor stuff. Check forgery. That means you wrote a bad check. And he was serving probation for writing a bad check, and he voted 9 times. We can't be the party of election integrity whereby we're looking for the Georgia legislature right now, as I'm speaking, right now, as I'm talking on the radio, right this minute at 7:09 p.m., there are people down at the Capitol right now pushing, cajoling, pulling as best they can to get at least one of 4 election integrity bills passed right now. And we got a first vice chair who voted illegally 9 times. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times, not 8 times, but 9 times he voted illegally. Knowingly. We can't be any kind of cohesive party with that as our first vice chair. Number 2, how can we in any way, shape, or form scream, Trump's getting railroaded in Fulton County. Fulton County is corrupt. The judicial system is corrupt. Lawfare is wrong. Two-tiered system of justice in Fulton County. Rah, 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 all the things that we say. How can we say any of that if our first vice chair of the Georgia GOP voted illegally 9 times? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times, not 8 times, but 9 times. 9 times. What kind of credibility do we have? None, as long as this man sits in that seat as first vice chair of the Georgia GOP. If he was any kind of man, he'd step down immediately. As soon as that judge handed down a sentence or handed down her ruling, he should have said, stepped right out of there, called Josh McCoon up and say, hey, I'm out. My bad. But no, grifters don't usually do that. Now, third, imagine my conservative friends, my election integrity friends, my activists, my county chairs. Imagine if a judge ruled that the Democratic Party of Georgia's first vice chair was seen to have voted illegally 9 times. how many tweets would you have sent by now, my conservative friends? How many times would you have called into radio stations and TV stations and screamed and yelled to the highest, as loud as you possibly can, this is proof, this is proof, this is proof? How many times would you have done that by now if this was a Democrat first vice chair? The first vice chair of the Democrat Party of Georgia. How many times? You know how many times. You know how many of you would call me up and send me emails saying, you got to talk about this, you got to talk about this, this is proof, we got our proof. But the most important thing that I have to say tonight about this situation, Brian K. Pritchard, Georgia Republican Party's first vice chair, voting illegally, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times, not 8 times, but 9 times illegally casting a vote. The most important thing about this is this guy got elected to the vice chair position of the Georgia Republican Party. That should be of concern to every single Georgia voter and every single person who's a Georgia GOP activist, every single county chair, every single county member, the Women's Republican Party of Georgia, the secretaries, the every position, congressional House district chairs, every single position. If you hold a position in the state of Georgia in the GOP, you should be concerned with the fact that this guy even got elected in the first place. It was a close race, but my good friend Marcy McCarthy, my sister, my dear sister, BJ Van Gundy, these two were highly qualified to be first vice chair. I lean towards Marcy. 1, she's my friend, but 2, Marcy's done the work. She's knocked on the doors. She's made the phone calls. She's completely transformed the Cobb County GOP and made it vibrant. She's got 11 or 12, I can't remember the number, candidates running into Cobb County as Republicans. She's recruited candidates. This is the work that's needed. This is what she's done. Sometimes using her own money. Sometimes using her own money, her own time, rallying people to make phone calls, rallying people to knock on doors. BJ, a longtime Republican operative, knows the donors, knows the people. How is it possible that this guy, Brian K. Pritchard, with everything surrounded him, even won that election, even got into a runoff in that election? I'll tell you why. Because as Sean Hannity talks about NBC, I will say the same phrase about the Georgia GOP. The inmates are running the asylum. The crazy nutbags who in 2016 saw Donald Trump get elected president, all of a sudden they knew everything about politics and they started getting involved in politics, pushing aside all the longtime voter activists, the longtime door knockers, the longtime phone bankers, the longtime donors. That's why so many county parties can't even raise money now, because the nutbags have moved them out. I'm not talking about my good friend Sally Grubbs. I'm not talking about Marcy McCarthy. I'm not talking about all my friends. I'm talking about you crazies who voted for this idiot, Brian K. Pritchard, who should, if he's a man, will resign by 10 p.m. tonight. No one should have to call this man and convince him to resign. He should be out the door with a letter to Josh McCoon by 10 p.m. tonight. You're a drain. You're sucking us dry, sir. Get out of the way and take every single person that voted for you with you. Because we don't need you. You're costing us more than you're giving us. We need Marcy McCarthy's. We need Josh McCoon's. We need all the people that know how to knock on a door, talk to people, and raise money in this party right now. We don't need Brian Pritchard, and we don't need many of the people that voted for him, because you're doing nothing for us except walking around with a T-shirt on saying, stolen election 2020. It's the Shelley Winter Show, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK.